The darkness takes me. I feel like falling, like I'm floating, like I'm nowhere and everywhere at once. What? Where is all I can think? And then the light envelops me, and I'm somewhere. The warm feeling that encapsulates my being, it seems to be radiating from, well, everywhere. I try to reach for my chest. I can't move. I try to look around, and it's the same everywhere. I try to listen, but there is no sound. Nothing. Not until a voice comes back. You are here. I asked immediately who this is. You do not remember? Well, which is understandable. Most cannot understand, or others are not willing. The rest just don't want to remember. I ask, remember what? And the voice says, it's easier if I show you than tell. A warning, though. You will not find this pleasant. It is the only way to make you complete as you should be. At that moment, my memories became distant. I began to see things, but were these memories? Were these dreams? Dreams of strange places that I've seen that I can remember. Some I barely recognize. They're coming together into what? Flashes, visions, random thoughts that indiscriminately turn and enter my mind. All of a sudden, they were given context. As all this happened, I feared that my life would simply disappear, yet the memories stayed intact. What is more interesting was all my memories, all of it from my entire life became crystal clear. From the moment of my birth, with my mother screaming in pain, through the summoning of my familiars, all the way to the point it was all beyond clear. My entire life flooding out before my eyes is almost like a highlight reel in super speed. Yet that was not all. The thoughts, the dreams, the flashes, those that I had had throughout my life, they also merged and they clarified to the nth degree. I remember it now. An entire life without magic, with technology that is vastly different, but only due to those in power restricting and forbidding any type of improvement. I remember a whole nother childhood, other parents, other siblings, growing up, being forced into government indoctrination centers for over a decade that I absolutely despised. I remember learning and trying to begin my life. The employments, the training, and the wars. Yes, the wars, all the wars. Wars that reached across the entire planet. Wars that I was sent into over and over again for nothing, for zero gain, surviving by sheer luck, grit, and a hell of a lot of training. After it all, I went back to being, what was I? A farmer, yes. I even remember my young cousins borrowing a few items and then these items disappearing. I used to just let it go because they were family, of course. That would have made me laugh a little bit, the absurdity of it, yet another memory surfaced. I remember my guts opening and I thought I was dying. Then it hit me like a bowling ball in the nutsack. The voice, so calm, so caring, so direct, as it told me, go and become complete. Yet I was about to be complete, whatever that happened, then something happened, and it was like amnesia. I opened my eyes, and I was in this new world. I now understand. I completely understand. I had been reborn. My soul had been recycled, basically. Yet my new duty assignment turned out to want to kill me. I can still feel the pain of that 45 caliber slug going into my heart where Blaze, oh God, Blaze. I tried again to reach for my chest, but I didn't move. I tried to feel for him, but he's just not there. I scream out. I scream for him, but there's nothing. I think to myself, I failed the mission. I failed to protect him.
Not quite.
A voice said, and then I saw it. A full blaze of glory as a full-grown phoenix flew directly at me. It stopped. Its massive 40-plus wide wingspan just kind of hung there in front of me. It didn't move its wings, but it was flying. It was floating in front of me in a deep, almost monstrous voice.
Father, you did not fail. Not by my reasoning. I should have exited earlier, as my presence alone may have changed the events, yet in truth it is what it is. As a phoenix, I cannot die. It's not really possible. I mean, I die, but I don't die. At least, not the way of your understanding. I simply rise again. Yet now I rise in return to my original realm. As much as I would like to remain, the rules are clear. There's no debate. If I violate them, then I will lose what makes me, me. And I must return. However, there is a stipulation that allows me to do something, to say goodbye. In every world, every dimension, this is true. You've heard this, I'm completely sure. Yet, my time now is brief. Goodbye, Father. I hope you find peace in your next assignment.
With every part of what was left of me, I reached out and embraced my son. I said, may you reach your full potential in your next assignment. After a few moments, he was just gone. He just seemed to be absorbed in a portal of fire. I was left broken, yet I had dealt with loss before. I had memories of life where burying family pets was, well, common. Loss of friends, family, comrades, brothers of sorts, all the time, and with each instance, I had to harden my heart. The dozens of times where I had to be the rock, the one that supports all others that were crumbling under the weight of this loss, the voice of reason to attempt to comfort as I barely held myself together. Also, I became the justifiable hammer of God's own wrath that directed killing intent where it needed to go. The warrior's heart, the soldier's mind, and a spirit too stubborn to die, yet here I am in this moment, seemingly awaiting judgment. Though not for the first time, and in my mind I called out. I called out to the voice to let them know I want to know what's next. To tell me what's going to happen to my first child with Blaze gone and Rakishin safe. I had to know about Scarlet. I had to. Not only were my familiar instincts kicking in, but all those decades of training had me demanding a status on them. I needed to know as much as possible. The voice itself seemed to find this amusing. Yet I didn't find any part of this amusing. The last thing I remember before everything went dark and I ended up here was her being taken by the knights, her screaming for me to help, yet my body just would not respond. Tell me, I screamed out with my mind. The voice still seemed to giggle. Pissed off, I said, if you're God, then either tell me or show me. The voice said, I'm not God. I'm a simple servant. Yet I can tell you that your questions will be answered very soon. The voice seemed to change slightly, at least in my ears. It also seemed very amused at the entire situation. I once again commanded my body to move, and nothing. Aside from holding my son for that last moment, I can't move. What is wrong with me? I couldn't look around, and there was something I was even looking at? I don't even know what I was looking at. That is when I felt something around me. Something is pushing me into the dark, head first into the dark. Oh crap, I think I know where I'm going. I should be afraid though. I should be concerned. I should be cleaned, like a clean slate. I should. How do I know this? Wait a minute. Why does this all seem familiar? Ah, yes. I've been here before and I had forgotten. I know where I am. I know what's going to happen. I am not looking forward to this. The screams of pain echo across as I go headfirst into the new light. It's so bright, it's almost blinding. I try to yell, I try to scream as the light hits me right in the face. My eyes are on fire from it being so bright. Thankfully, that's not literal, but massive hands reach and grab me and begin to lift. These large, cold hands wrap around me, supporting me as they pull me from the place of warmth and comfort and place me in a cold and unknown area. I try to open my eyes, and they continue to reach and twist me and move me. I try to move, but my body barely responds. At least I got something, but nothing as much as I need. Quickly, I'm being lifted away as a voice cries out, a voice that sounds exhausted, excited, frightened, and excessively caring all at the same time. I can hardly hear anything. It's all muffled, yet that voice. I can't make out what is said, but it's like it calls to me. I want to run to it. I want to fly to it. I want to comfort it. I'm placed somewhere. I can feel hands prodding at me. Other voices are saying something, but it's really difficult to hear. Holy crap, do I even have ears at all? What's going on? That's when the hot water hits, and I try to curse at whoever's doing that. There is the pain. Someone just stabbed me. Son of a... There's another one. Over and over again. But stop doing that. They stab my arms and legs. I can barely move. It seems like they're holding me down. And I swear, once I know who the hell you are frickin' dead, whoever you are. I'm beginning to hear better, slowly, and some of the words begin to make sense. Most of them I hear are numbers. What? Why numbers? Aren't they speaking actual words? Then someone repeats these numbers again. I try to move again, but these massive hands seem to hold me down every time I try to move. Then I'm flipped over, and the hands start poking at my back, pushing areas. Ow, son of an asshole. Stop trying to rip my wings off. What are you doing? At least that's all I can think. Then they do something that makes me really, really pissed. And all I can think is, okay, now you're gonna die painful, asshole. Then I can hear the female voice again, and it's clear. It's just saying something about give him back and mine. I get it, but I'm being carried away again. What the hell's going on? I'm covered in a thin blanket. I can barely move, and I'm placed in the arms of something huge, huge arms. Is this a giant as it wraps around me? But I'm not afraid. The softness here. The softness. This is a chest. This is a chest. It's akin to the squishiest beanbag chairs I've ever felt. Then I feel the breath across my face. I can hear the female voice as it is much softer. It's not trying to scream anymore. It's right next to my head. No, it's in front of me. I can feel the breath go across my face. What the hell is going on? I force my eyes open to look at my new captors. Perhaps I'm about to be some giant's lunch. I don't know what's going on. As my eyes focus, I could not believe what was in front of me. Who was in front of me? There was no mistaking it. Scarlet looks down at me, but she's huge. Those glowing eyes looking at me with love and warmth. They would give... Holy hell. I looked around a bit and I'm in a medical facility. I can't move my head. What's going on? I can't move my hand. I can't move anything. Why can I barely move my body? That's when reality hit me. I was reborn. Again. What the fuck? It was then that Scarlet lowered the blanket. Okay, when did you go through puberty? And it seems as though puberty was very, very kind to you, Scarlet. And before I could think anything else, I required sustenance. And my body moved on its own. No matter how much I fought, it didn't matter. And I was finally able to think at that point. I was able to remember I'm sitting here with decades of life experience from this world and another. I'm sure I can figure this out. The first time this happened was a bit of a shock. I mean, I was an old man, but I wasn't too shocking. I mean, yeah, I was old. It was going to happen, but it was still unpleasant. Although I had figured out a simple fact of this world, that's all human souls are actually summoned from across the multiverse itself, which means I rolled double sixes for sure to end up where I had to. I had heard the voice before when it passed through, trying to explain things, but I didn't quite understand what they meant. Now I get it. And I had been sent with a purpose. I had to become complete. In my first life, at least from the ones I remember, my life was that of duty. A life of sacrifice for others. A life where I had to train constantly and never really go out and do anything. To that end, I had no girlfriends, only the occasional, what do we call it back then, hook up? I mean, no family life, really, no kids. Hell, because of my past, my own siblings stayed away from me. In turn, they kept their kids away from me too. Maybe they thought I was too dangerous, but I mean, I thought it was a little harsh that I was never on any paperwork as a custodian of any type of nature, that is. Hell, even with so many nieces and nephews, I was a godfather of zero. I had no family beyond those who trained, yet, just like a parent, you train those to handle the world without you. And then they move on. That's what you're supposed to do. I do miss my folks, both sets of them, of course, though it is kind of difficult to focus in this moment as I'm moving from one soft entree to another at this moment. As I lay here with the left side of heaven in my mouth, all I can do really is think. Think about how I had family, but I lost them. How the rules sent me back. I know this world is based around summoning, but there's still technology. It's not like this is some cave or dungeon I'm in. That would truly suck. There is monitoring equipment and clean sheets, even a well-known smell of disinfectant in the air. It still confuses me how I got so fortunate to be back, yet one thought always makes me spit out my milk. If I summon Scarlet, that makes her my daughter. She gave birth to me. Does that mean I'm my own grandpa? The thought was disturbing, to be sure. Yet it was interrupted by something wet landing on me. Then another and another. I tried looking up, but in truth, I really didn't need to, as the sounds of crying filled the small room. She didn't say anything, but the look in her eyes actually broke me. It cut me deep. I did not know why for a full day, but that's when several doctors arrived, flanked by security on all sides, one of which I recognized, and I couldn't hide my disdain. Sven, you tiny little dick, I thought. If I had access to myself like I used to, I'd kill you right where you stand. Afterwards, I would pluck out all the feathers off that frickin' griffin one by one. Scarlet pulled me out of this thought as she held me closer as the doctors told her it was time for her to return to I have no idea where. Slowly, she got up with me in her arms. In the reflection of the glass, I could see that she had grown up fully and she had filled out. Wow, Scarlet, you are damn. As she stood, she did stumble a bit, and a few of the security tried to catch her, but she immediately pulled away, shocked and scared. The jolt actually hurt a little bit. One did end up offering to carry me, but she vehemently refused. I could actually feel her nails extending underneath my shoulder. I'm like, hey, easy, you're going to stab me. As she stood up to the walk, refusing the wheelchair, I could see her reflection again. For some reason, she had no longer that strange deep red down her body. I mean, I had noticed before, but I had noticed she had changed as she grew up. Instead of being that deep red, almost crimson, she was now, what is this, a medium purple? Leaning towards dark. Her hair was still that solid black that seemed to merge into the darkness, yet she doesn't seem to have any hair down the rest of her body, which was easy to see considering that, this is a medical facility. They're not going to allow you to have clothes. I would be impressed if it wasn't for the fact that her wings are gone. Wait, did someone take her wings? Oh, I'm beyond pissed now. I scream in frustration as we walk as she's bare-assed down the hallway straight into awaiting transport. We sit, flanked by security as they drive off. The security talked all around her about how they wouldn't harm her, how they're just there to walk her. She then changes her expression a little bit, and she talks to them in a menacing tone, saying, "You know what happens when you try to force yourself on a succubus, right?" The security all looked at each other and they started getting nervous. One actually asked the security next to him, Are the rumors true? The other responded, "Yeah, they had to sedate him for a long time. Guess that would be required for someone who had their freaking genitals explode." Both men got visibly uncomfortable as though their minds were starting to feel the pain. I laughed as I knew that succubi are still considered ethereal-based creatures, even though they do have a physical form, meaning her powers manifest in ways most folks don't realize. They don't understand. The fact that she's physical is only a side effect of the summoning. It took time for us to get to the facility, long enough for me to begin to check my own resonance. I could feel just a bit of draconic resonance, just a little, but it's there. I moved my tongue around my mouth, and sure enough, I still got that long tongue. I guess I'll tuck this away for now. No one needs to know about that. I did try breathing fire just a little bit, trying to warm up my mouth, but all I got was a little warm, but still, it worked. It's not going to help at all at this point, but it's still good to know. I tried to move my wings, but my back hurt so much I actually flinched in pain. Scarlet felt me, and she cradled me more, rubbing my back. I'll admit I didn't shy away from the extremely soft pillows that I was squeezing against, and I tried to focus more resonance, but we arrived as I was trying to focus on other things. Walking into the facility, of course, we drew a lot of eyes, especially this absolutely gorgeous woman holding me right now. But as I looked around, I could see the facility was very sterile. As we are brought in, I can see glimpses of others around. At first, you would think that this is some sort of mental asylum for summoned familiars, but there are humans too. Unfortunately, the way I'm facing doesn't allow me to see much, but just a little. Yet what I did see frightens me. We pass by several areas that are clearly set up for medical experimentation. Entire surgical suites are prepped and even looked recently used in a few cases. Eventually, we find ourselves in a room with few amenities. A comfortable bed, to be sure, a full bathroom, which is nice, yet there's nothing else there but a few books, a desk, and a surprisingly fluffy chair. Scarlett places me down on the bed, and for the first time, she starts crying, like breaking down. The tears start pouring down her face, and it's like everything just hit her at once. It breaks my heart into so many pieces to see this. I want to reach up, to hold her until she stops crying like I used to. I want to bring back that sweet little girl that I knew. I want to at least tell her that I'm here. But I'm stuck. Stuck in this infant's body. Stuck trying to figure out the next move. And it's like she can feel my pain as Scarlett reaches for me and picks me up and holds me close again. I can do nothing but cry with her. Subtle, but I can feel her resonance coming out and it's affecting me. She might have held me close, but she didn't actually have me curled up in her arms. But thankfully, she at least gets some of this pain out. And as we all know, with most of these women, once they get it out, a few buckets later, and it's like nothing happened. The days begin to pass, and they begin to merge together. Every morning, I wake up to see Scarlett performing the same exercise I used to. I watch as she goes through the motions. She doesn't have any weights, but she's firming and toning her muscles with the stretches and the movements. And I remember that dang movement that we thought up, and now I know where I got it. Every time she finishes all those burpees, I swear she needs another shower. Food's brought, but it's placed on a tray that's actually slid through a sealed box next to the door. I watch as Scarlett will actually leave a note inside every time she finishes her meal, and it's usually just to request books. When not dealing with me, she just reads and exercises, although she still enjoys a long, hot bath. At least some things don't change because she always enjoyed the baths. As she moves about, I keep seeing the scars on her back. Those are not surgical scars. It looks like the wings were ripped off her lower back, and it fills me with rage every time. My eyes look at the 3 scars, and I'm almost overtaken with rage. I swear, if I could move, I'm going to find somebody. I'm going to give them the hard goodbye. Regardless of how inviting Scarlett's posterior is, seriously, if I find out who removed her wings and her tail, oh, they will die slowly in more pain than they will ever want to know. Once a week, the rooms are clean, and that's when we get to see others. All of which show scars of mistreatment, to say the least. The elf lady with a scar across her cheek and her neck. The human men with a missing hand. The pixies and fairies without wings, which for them, you might as well just cut off their legs. The demons with their horns and tails removed. The mermaids with severed fins. They're just missing. The werewolf with their claws removed and half its fangs gone. The list just goes on. Scarlet talks with a lot of them, of course, and I begin to get a sense of what's going on. And as I listen, as I observe, I realize it doesn't matter what dimension, what planet, wherever I am, evil is just plain evil. I listen to them talk, and it's clear that every single one of them has been taken via some nefarious means. Scarlet talks about how she was taken after Rakishan was sent out to wherever in the hell he was. I think another dimension, but honestly, I don't even know. I think for a moment, at least he's safe. He'd at least protect one of them. Scarlet was taken here and experimented on, which is where some rich kid decided he wanted to violate Scarlet, thinking, oh, I will have a succubus plaything. Yet as he attempted to do so, there was a power backlash right as he was about to do the one thing that would make me want to destroy this planet. The backlash burst out from between her legs and right into where he did not want to go, and it splattered all his important parts on the wall behind him. Apparently, he nearly bled out, but mainly because he was so in shock he didn't move. The healers had extreme difficulty trying to rebuild it, and it turns out, according to rumor, well, let's just say they could grow something back, but it wasn't nearly the size they wanted. Scarlet jokes about how she put a curse on him, and it made sure that he's never going to be able to satisfy himself or another woman ever again. And every time they try to reconstruct him, something pops. And supposedly something pops every time he tries to enjoy himself with what little he's got left. Again, these are all rumors, but supposedly the only way to restore him to the point where he's going to be able to do anything is to have magic change his parts female. I thought about this for a while, and I started laughing so damn hard. I laughed so hard my ribs actually hurt. For a time, Scarlet thought I was having problems, like I was having a seizure, but no, I was laughing to the poetic justice of it all. As Scarlet was explaining all this, they changed the subject, and they were talking about, well, me. Well, what used to be me. And turns out all these scientists were trying to figure out how my old body was able to summon something so strong. Not just Scarlet, but a dragon of all things. Or how I could deal with the resonance that strong that was coming through and just keep going. How I was able to actually hold on to it. How I could breathe fire just after a couple of weeks. That should have taken a couple of years at the earliest. They tried all sorts of experimentations on what was left of my body, and after years and years, they decided to try something else. If using the body to summon was not viable, perhaps they could use the body of the summoner to impregnate the familiar, and they could bring me back about 90% of my original body. At least that's what they believed, and that's what they told her to make her more accepting, because it seemed like every time they tried to do anything to impregnate her, somebody lost a body part. One nurse lost a hand. One other nurse actually died because she was face first towards that area, and there was a explosion. And for a while, Scarlet was known as the succubus with the killer fart. However, eventually, she believed that she was getting nothing but my old body parts, and she could actually sense it. There was resonance left over. There always is, especially when your body is left on ice. When they finally have their test subjects, everyone speculated that the experiment was to try and control the most powerful and to create the most powerful. That's what this area was for. It didn't take long to see that this experiment was being performed on several of the other familiar females. And, hearing all this, especially after what I'd gone through, not only in the life I had just left, but previous other lives, I have seen some very disgusting men take advantage of very screwed up situations, and I wanted to tear this entire godforsaken place to the ground. But I need to use my battlefield patience, because now is not the time. If I expose myself now, I might just be taken and they'll just cut me open and I got to do this whole song and dance over again, if that's even possible. As time passed, I could see several more being experimented on. At one point, I could hear the guards talk about parts. They talked about kelpie meat and how well it sold and for how much. The next week, the kelpie colt that I had seen around was actually gone. The mare was still there, but her head fell very low to the ground. It was at this moment I knew. I know exactly why they're keeping us here, why they cut parts, and it wasn't to use for some sort of experiment. It was to keep us from escaping. But as a side benefit, these sick bitches were selling sentient parts for profit. Due to this realization, in order to protect myself, whenever a nurse or a doctor tried to get a blood sample or even check my pulse, I used my new incubus parts of me to make their other fun parts kind of hurt. If I couldn't do that, I made them, well, let's just say embarrassed, as they would need new clothes and a dry cleaner as soon as possible. I had to laugh a lot, and so did Scarlett, especially the first few times, as they realized really quick they weren't going to be able to hide the fact that they had moisturized their own clothes, because they had to be aided off the floor. Granted, it wasn't nearly as bad as when Scarlett and I had struck out that one night, made sure that everybody was away from the summoning circle, but it was rough enough to make sure they weren't going to walk for a couple of hours. For years, this continued. The standard timelines, the exercises, the walking around. In that time, I myself learned to walk. I learned to talk, and I waited. I waited until the right time. Every part of me, every part of me from an entire life of training more and more and more told me to wait. I needed to get stronger. I needed to be able to get us out of here cleanly, because if I acted rash, then we're going to get caught. If we're caught, I can't promise anything. So I had to wait. I had to wait, and I had to observe. What no one knew is that I had been analyzing the guards, the facility itself, the schedules. While most sleep, I was focusing power, making sure that I could feel my own resonance building up. I could feel it within inside me. The dragon's resonance, the succubus resonance that is now incubus as well, because now I'm part one, after all. And then there's something else, something deep. I would have preferred to bring my power level up even higher, to build it up more so that I could take down everybody in one swoop. Yet tonight, I have no choice. I could hear the guards outside labeling the door. They hung something up. They didn't knock, but I could hear them moving around. They started talking about a surgery, a mass surgery. And the nurses were talking about gelding that nasty demon right before I heard something touch the door. I knew exactly what that meant. I sat up, I got off the bed, I went over to the chair, and I went to sit down, but no. I started breaking everything down, what had to be done. And that's when Scarlett heard me pacing around. She immediately got up and checked to see what's going on, calling me by the same name I had before. She had actually named me after my other self, which, well, was kind of interesting considering what was going to happen next. I have her sit, and I have to tell her something. She looks concerned as I simply stand up in front of her. She still has to lean down a little bit to see me eye to eye. And this frail 3-year-old stands in front of her, and I tell her everything. How I remember who I was. How I remember who I was before that. How I had to say goodbye to Blaze, which made her cry again at the loss of her brother. I comforted her, and then I continued. How I had a chance to get us out, and we're going to take it. It was difficult for her to wrap her head around all of it until I mentioned something she had not told anyone. How she used to watch me and my trainer. I told her how I noticed how her tail wagged each time she saw me win. She cried, and she hugged me as the realization hit her right between the eyes that everything I had said was the truth, and I simply ended up asking her, "So, are you ready to get out of here?" Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on Part 8 of this ongoing series. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Julius Boone. And I also need to send out some giant thank yous to the supporters of the channel, and they are Brian Kemp, Cert, MTF Guard, Guardian Sage, Steve Uwig, Douglas Scarborough, Erica Gem, SS Demon, Prozac and Pancakes, Julius Boone, and Joseph Blush. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax.
Ejecting!